Hi, and welcome to the Power Talk for Remarkable Females. My name is Helena de Munk. I am your host, and today we are talking about astrology, leadership styles, and astrology. And to be very honest, I have no idea where this is going to take me, but that's okay because I am here with Cinzia Biondi, and she knows everything about astrology. Welcome, Cinzia. You're a business astrologist, you're a strategist, you are an author, you are many things. And today you are going to share here your views on how astrology can help us with leadership. And I'm thrilled to hear more about that. So where do you want to start?
First of all, thank you for inviting me to your show. And first of all, let's start to say about astrology. A lot of people, first of all, when you hear the name astrology, they start to say, yes, my sign is in Leo, Scorpio, Capricorn, and they stop there. But actually, the astrology that I'm practicing is really different because
Yes.
I blend astrology that I practice since I'm 12 years old. And I blend it with a lot of psychology, genealogy, and astrocartography. So any kind of need that a leader wants to know about himself or herself, I'm really able to support. So in the terms, it's like I'm practicing is a more insightful astrology and a more deep kind of astrology. It's not superficial, but going deep into not really the personality, but I would say it's going deep into the essence of the person. So this is why I'm really able to support them better, any kind of lead, just looking at the birth chart. And another view that I can say that there is always a difference between talking about astrology and embody astrology. So I embodied actually all the aspect of astrology. And this is why for me it's like my whole life since I was really young. And I believe it also from my past life. So why I reconnected. I just had it to remember everything that I did in past lives. It was tough, but yeah, I'm happy and I'm glad that I did that. One of the benefit of astrology is actually that the goal that I have with all my client is actually goal number one is like helping the client to connect with their inner autonomy, because nowadays a lot of clients are relying too much on external validation, external guidance, but my mission is really to help person connect with their inner autonomy by understanding their birth chart better. And so this is why my mission became like when you study astrology, when I actually try to learn together with me or the astrologer that are doing really professionally, your birth chart is like falling in love with yourself. And that's my mission. So you
Yeah.
will really understand all the aspects of yourself. So leadership, there is a lot to say actually. It's what I wanted to start because the intention for today's talk is not to go too much into details because I know sometimes people on LinkedIn, maybe they don't know so much of astrology. So it was quite hard for me today to try to understand from which perspective I can give you a lot of value and I can provide a lot of value to our listeners. So
Absolutely. And maybe if I can, Cynthia, what I would like to invite the people that are listening, and even if you are watching or listening to the replay, you can use the comment box. Ask your questions, give us your feedback, tell us what you think. Please participate. We are here. Now is the moment in if you want to know something more about it, or if Cynthia is telling something that you don't understand or you maybe disagree, just let us know in the comments in a nice way, of course. And we will be very happy to integrate that in our talk show today. That's also an important thing. For the replays, we will monitor the comments here below. We will monitor them and we will get back to you with whatever information that you're asking for. That's also important. Yes, Cynthia,
nice.
please go on.
Nice. How to approach this conversation with talk today? The intention is to approach this talk starting by the four element. So under trying to understand first the four element and how they apply to leadership style and actually how they apply to our lives. So we can start first by the water element. So what does it mean that the water element is that when a person in a birth chart has a lot of water element, meaning as planet in Cancer, in Scorpio, or in Pisces. What does it mean that in details? Usually water sign are people that are really emotional, and they are really nurturing the qualities that are really nurturing other people. They like usually to stay at home, cuddling with the loved one. And from a leadership point of view, they can really be in tune they can really be in tune easily with their colleagues, where the team and the team members, because they can really feel. So it's all about feelings for a water element. They can really feel what is going on. So I always say, for example, if in a team there are too much, for example, it's just an example, too much fire element, there will be a lot of contrast and arguing, but every team should need at least the four element. We will see later because I will share an example. So a leader that has a lot of water element is first of all an empathetic leader. Is a leader then that is helping, is really able to understand and nurture their people, and is really also compassionate leader. Of course, every sign has a high octave and a low octave. Of course, when a person is too much water, so has too much water element, is not really aligned with himself or herself, that is going there in the low vibe of the water element, meaning that is a person that always is crying too much. I can feel example force leaders that doesn't know really how to manage their teams, and maybe they can get over emotional, and they maybe when they are at home they can really go into crying a lot to discharge from the stress that they had during the day. Or on the opposite, there are people that they have a lot of water element, but on the opposite they stop their feelings, so they go in numbing. So there are people usually that they can be leaders or not leaders. I believe that everyone in our life is a kind of a leader. I'm a leader in a certain way in my private life and also in my business. You are a leader in your private life and your business as well. So that's my view. I have a really point of view because my
I
Mercury is
fully
like,
agree, Cinzia.
yeah. So everyone actually is a leader because I
Exactly.
always see that our birth chart is unique to us, and our birth chart represents just a potential. So, and if you are not able in this lifetime to tap into our potential, that potential will be wasted. But again, that will be always our unique potential. You cannot copy someone else because your birth chart is different from another person. That's the main concept. So, my goal is also to help the person live and also lead authentically according to their birth chart. And I can give you later also a case study of a manager, of a leader, that she couldn't really fit in what they were asked by what she was asked by the corporate association, and then she understood really well her birth chart. So saying that the low aspect of the water element is feeling really cold, and it can lead also to numbing any kind of feelings, any kind of emotion. So going more is a kind of a leader that is going home, is really cold and distant with their employee, and is going home and is drinking, for example, a lot, or it is into smoking. So there is also this, let's say, shadow side of each aspect. There's always so, and also a shadow side that we don't see in each of any kind of leaders, I would say.
Sure.
So that is the water element. That is water element that on a low aspect, it can go into addiction, but on a high vibration, it can really nurture their people. It can be really empathetic. It can be a compassionate leader. Okay. Then we can move the air sign, air element. Air element is all about, for example, Gemini. All about being having a lot of element in Aquarius, planet in Aquarius, for example. And also here we have a light aspect of the air element and let's say less harmonious aspect of the air element. The light aspect is that if a leader has a lot of air element in the birth chart, it means that they are a person that is really talkative, is really social, is really, let's say, if you have, for example, Aquarius, a lot of Aquarius element, he can be a leader that he has a lot of out of box ideas. So it's really original thinker, and it can be really helpful. Not for a traditional corporate organization, but it can really be helpful, for example, for a startup or for a department, research and design department that wants to innovate. This is why I had, for example, a different client that they were struggling in their current, different leaders that were struggling in their current position because they had a lot of various elements, so a lot of air element, and the specific corporate company, they couldn't allow them, because of their policy, if I recall well, to express fully themselves. So this is why a leader also need really to understand that if you have a lot of out of box thinking, you need really to try to adapt to the current, to the correct working environment. So if you're not satisfied in the current position, you need to change an environment that will really be good for your talent and for your skills and for your leadership qualities in this case. But on the less, let's say, on the less harmonious side, the air element is an element, is a leader, is a person that it can talk a lot, meaning they start talking and they cannot stop talking during a meeting. Are the ones that are really taking over the scene during a business meeting, for example, talking for 30 minutes and not allowing anyone to say anything. So maybe a person is stay hours with a raised hand, but they continue to talk because they want to talk a lot. They can use a lot of gesture, like a typical Italian, for example. And they are people that sometimes they can talk also really fast because air element can be really fast. So their kind of communication, it can be really fast.
In one way, one direction.
And in one direction, exactly, in one direction. And they have, at their worst, let's say, they are really curious because air element is really curious, but there might be, on a less harmonious side, that there might be a lot of intellectual curiosity that never stop. They always want more. For example, if I think about if someone has a lot of Gemini element in their birth chart, they are typically person that on a less harmonious side, they can talk a lot, but it's like superficial chatting. So they will never go deep to understand more about a topic. So, for example, they can learn. There are typical leaders that can learn a different kind of subject, but they just learn the superficial aspect of each subject. They don't go really into depth. So they go maybe into a specific kind of certification or different levels of certification. They usually stop at the foundation level of a specific subject.
Yeah.
But the good things is that they are also really social. So they are really good at networking. They are really good at paying attention to what people are saying and really asking, for example, out of the box question. So that is really a good of air element. Then, for example, if you have a lot of, another example that I can give is that if you have a lot of element in Aquarius, usually people with the Aquarius element, they are definitely not a follower. So they will never follow any kind of trend because they want to generate new ideas, to have new ideas. So they will never follow anyone. So they are not definitely a follower because, of course, we are talking about lead. Then,
And that explains some things.
yes,
In my personal life, yes. I know somebody with a lot of Aquarius, yes. And what you say is,
for example, I have Mercury in Aquarius. I'm definitely not a follower. So I always like out of box ideas and I like to ask really interesting questions to people. And so in this case, my communication style is really out of the box. Then what we are missing, and then we go to the earth element. So people, leaders that have a lot of earth element, they are using really practical. They are usually have in their work a lot of order, structure. They always be on time. They are super responsible. They are usually dealing with a lot of details. And if you think it's like, I always smile thinking that this is why I always say, this is why we are living on this planet Earth, because we have to be structured. We need to pay our bills. We need to really follow a specific order and be on a less harmonious side. If I think, for example, person that, so first of all, earth element are Virgo, Taurus, and Capricorn. If I think, for example, a person like Virgo that has a lot of Virgo element in their birth chart, on a lead point of view, they can be the kind of leader that they are really focusing on precision. So they ask their teammates to be really precise in everything they do. And they might, in the worst scenario, they can really go into micromanagement and they might be really controlling, for example. But if you see a lot of earth element and is another element that is aligned with their essence, usually they can give you structure, they can give a lot of structure to their team, but also that they can be really giving meaning. The high octave of earth element is being at service, to people in general, to their teams, um, being able and loving too much to share what they have to offer, and donate on a private life. For example, they are typical person that if they are aligned with themselves, they really like to give gifts, make surprises. So that is a good aspect about earth element. And another example that I have is if they are people, leaders that are not aligned with themselves, that can turn into a lot of complaining. So according to all the studies that I've run with all my clients, if a person has a lot of earth element in their chart and they are not, there is a specific moment in their life that are not in alignment, that can really turn into a lot of complaining. So it's not good for the team to listen to the
We have a misaligned Capricorn or other earth sign. Yeah.
Exactly. Or maybe I can resonate with the leaders that I was supporting and guiding, that they can be too much stuck with the cleanliness or order of in the office environment, with the desk, with too much order, too much in the opposite side. There should always be a balance of each element, of course. And then the last is fire element. So the fire element usually, if a leader has a lot of fire element, actually today I had a session with a leader that he had a double fire. It was a lot of fire. They can be really blunt, super blunt. They can wake up everyone. They like to be on stage. And they have a lot of courage because the typical fire element is Aries, Leo, and what I'm missing, Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. So on a less harmonious side, a fire element, it can go completely into ego. So they can be really into too much ego, to needing too much attention, or maybe being super loud. So talking too much loud during a meeting because they want to be at the center of attention of their teams or during a specific meeting, of course. And they might also turn a bit arrogant as well because they are mainly moved by ambition. But it's the bad side of ambition, I would say. But on a on an harmonious aspect, the person, the leader that has a lot of fire element can be really charismatic, can be really bold, can have a lot of courage and lead by example. So be the first one that is showing the way to their team. So it's really good. And do you have any question or you resonate with your personal? Actually, I didn't ask you. Do you know your birth?
Yeah, I'm a Capricorn. Yeah, everyone. And I see here Catherine is joining us, Catherine person here, and I was Catherine, I
Um,
already indeed also related with the Enneagram because the fire type is type 3 in the Enneagram. I guess you can indeed relate a lot of what Cynthia is saying also to the Enneagram model. Absolutely. Yeah.
I
Thank you for
absolutely.
bringing
So
that.
astrology is just a tool. Astrology, what I always say, is just a tool that can help you to understand yourself better. And what I was fascinating that a lot of people doesn't know, maybe I can make an example now, is that there is also another tool that is the MBTI,
Mhm. Great. Yeah.
MBTI test, all the DISC test, and there are always like matching. But what I always say is that it's astrology. Astrology is an ancient tool. All the new tools that came after, so the MBTI or the DISC or the Enneagram, are stemming from astrology. What Catherine say? It's not the. It's a tool. Yeah, exactly. But I can give you an example now because I can draw. I always share this example to let you understand better about the power of astrology. Um, so here is people. This is task. So I always like to
Work with
teach
it.
and explain.
Yes.
Well, so actually this is the a lot of people they are telling me, this is the disc test. Actually, it's not the disc test because these represent your birth chart. And you will find out through the disc test, but also through astrology, you will find out if a person, for example, is in this quadrant, so is outgoing and is task oriented. Of course, is a typical in their life as a typical dominance, so is a typical manager. If it's here, it's an influencer because it's outgoing and it really resonates a lot with people, so it's people oriented. If it's here, it's very more supportive because it's more
Mhm.
because it's a reserve and people oriented. If it's here, is a task and reserve is like quality manager or software engineer and something like that. But the fascinating thing is that nobody realized that is that if you take your birth chart, you go to any specific website online on astrological chart and you put your data, you will see that you will resonate a lot with this test, and you will see that if you have a lot of planets here, that will be your main career that is really fitting your essence. So I met a lot of people that, for example, they are into managing position, but they don't really resonate with the managing position. They continue to do a job that doesn't resonate with their essence, and they should do the opposite. So
Mhm.
actually, astrology is really helping just by looking at the disposition of your planet in this circle, how you should run your work, your business, but also which is your main essence. So this is a really easy starting point for people that are really lost in their career. So they continue, for example, to do a specific job just to pay the bills, but they don't really like it. So I always
Yeah.
start with, okay, where are the planet in your birth chart, meaning in your circle that I just show. So that's really important.
So basically, you
And
say that if people are feeling off, that it might be a good idea to have a look at this in order to see if they are really living or having a professional occupation that is in alignment with their essence. That could be
of course,
like,
it's what I was doing. Yeah, it's what I was doing when I was a manager. That I had too much my team members. I loved too much already when I was a manager in France to use astrology, but nobody knows. Also, when I was recruiting people, I always use astrology or numerology because you can really understand and tap into their people potential really immediately, and you can really also help them to develop their skills along the
yeah,
way as manager and leaders and so on. So it's really
absolutely.
useful.
Yeah.
With these tools, you
And
can
I
also
also
give
have to say,
sometimes. Well, yeah, I lost you. Tell me.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I also heard you say, Cynthia, that if you are really developing your teams and if you're organizing your teams, that it's a good idea to make sure that you have a balance of every element in terms of also team
Yes.
balance. That's also an important thing. Yeah. Let me see.
Exactly. Indeed, actually, what I teach also is that you should, in a team, you should have all the four elements in order for a team to deliver a project on time. So that's important.
Yeah.
So we have a question, I think.
Yes, it's an interesting one.
Catherine,
Yeah.
what if you're born 3 weeks earlier than due date? It's okay. You were meant to born in the specific day and time because we are picking up our date and time. So it's absolutely fine. You were meant to born at a specific time and to have that specific experience and the specific potential that is been highlighted by your birth chart. Yeah, there is
Okay.
no specific. You were
Yeah.
really meant to.
Don't have to
Also
start
me, for example,
recalculating in terms of what was estimated. The day you were born is the day that you were designed to be here, and this is what it's applying to you. Yeah. Interesting.
Exactly. For example, I am a twin sister. I have a twin sister, and also we were due after we were supposed to be born in March, but we were born in January. And but it was like that. And also because we are twin, it doesn't mean that we have the same birth chart because our birth chart is different by 3 minutes, and we have completely a different potential. And I always explain to everyone that every planet, astrology is not something that a person, an astrologist, is telling you, you are like that, full stop. No, it will never be like that because we have a free will and you always choose the experience that you want according to the specific element. I give you an example. For example, the planet Neptune. The planetary Neptune has a bright side and let's say less harmonious dark side. On a bright side, it's all about being really intuitive. It's all about poetry, music, art, literature, and being psychic and being into mediumship. On the less harmonious side, is all about numbing their emotion. It's all about moving towards alcohol, moving towards drugs. But it's up to the person which experience they want to go through. For example, I had a client that realized I tried to guide him through their birth chart, and he experienced all the, let's say, less harmonious side of Neptune, but then he understood the other potential of the planet and Neptune, and he moved towards the most harmonious side of that planet or aspect of that planet. It's always up to us, and this is why it's really important not to focus on online calculators because they will never explain all the facets, all the aspects of your life. You need always to have a full proper session, online session or face-to-face session with an astrologer because according to the choices that and experiences that you face, you have a particular storyline and the astrologer, if it's a good astrologer, will help you to discover new aspects of yourself. I always say that a good astrology reading is when a person is coming out from the session and is saying, I felt truly seen, I felt truly understood. So that's a good astrology reading.
Epson has another question,
okay?
Cinzia.
And
Yeah. So
I
she's
think
asking that if she would be born 3 weeks later, would she have a different personality?
I never talk about personality because the personality is changing along our lifetime. So when you're born, you have a specific personality, and then it's really changing. And you can have different personalities according to your different environments you're in. So you can have a personality when you're at work. In your work environment, you can have another personality with your friends. You can have another personality with your, I don't know, with your family. So what I talk always is always reconnect with your true essence, with your true element. But yes, to reply to Catherine, if you were born 3 weeks later, you would have a completely different chart. Absolutely,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. But it's
I
important
think
to
that she wrote it.
define. It's important to define personality because I know in different rules work with different terminologies of personality. I think what you are talking about is the essence of who we really are. And personality is how we manifest ourselves in different situations. So it's something that is basically volatile. That's a specific definition that you give. Yeah.
Absolutely. Actually, what I'm always saying is that if a client is working with me, it is to connect to their authenticity in order to deliver an authentic life on a professional level, but also on a private level. And I can give you an example. I can give you. I think that Catherine she's writing in Dutch or it's in French.
Asking if you were talking about DNA and not about personality, because I know in Enneagram, Catherine is working with Enneagram, and the personality there also has a very specific definition. And so it's always a little bit tricky
Exactly.
to use terminology. So that's why I also asked.
Yeah,
It's about essence in your birth
let's
chart,
say
isn't it? Yeah.
yeah. I talk about so the birth chart is like actually your essence. Yeah, you can call it your DNA, your true DNA, and I call it also is the blueprint, is your map to live an authentic life, professionally and also a private life. So that's for me astrology and the kind of astrology that I'm doing. Because, for example, I meet a lot of leaders that are facing issue in their leadership style, and when I go back, using astrogenealogy tool, so I go back to check what happened to your mom and to your dad, with your mom and with your dad. I really go back into more psychological aspect of astrology, and also yeah, it's pure psychology in order to help better the leader to connect with the true self, and lead accordingly to the true nature, true element. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah.
uh,
I think astrology
yeah,
as a
I hope.
concept. Yeah, I would say since yeah, astrology as a concept, especially the way that you are working with it and implementing also other elements like psychology, it's a big thing. It would be it's a real challenge to go in depth on everything here in this 30-45 minutes. But when people want to find out more about it, do you have a website or do you have an application where people can find out a little bit more?
Yes, yeah, you can connect me on LinkedIn. I'm the pattern breaker, because I always say that your birth chart can reveal all the patterns in your life, and you can break different patterns in your life. If you have a less harmonious aspect, you can break it and go beyond. So you can find me on
Mhm.
LinkedIn, you can find me on YouTube, Astrology by Cinzia. And I always share every Friday/Saturday here on LinkedIn. I always share the main astrological energies for each week, in order to help people to live accordingly to live
Yeah.
strategically accordingly to the main planetary energy. And for me, if a leader is able to live and work accordingly the main energy of the period, is not wasting their energy. Because if there is a period that is not really favorable, you can know in advance, and so you can strategically not put maybe meeting that are really important to close a specific
Yeah.
contract. For example, I give you
Mhm.
the most basic example that I can provide for also people that doesn't understand anything in astrology. And we have 3 times a year. 3 times a year, we have the planet Mercury that is going retrograde. And usually during this period, so is moving backwards. Mercury represents the archetype of communication, the archetype of contracts, and so on. Usually, when we have for 3 weeks more or less Mercury that is retrograde, if you pay real attention, and for me it was always fun to see what was happening, observing what was happening around me during Mercury retrograde. In the work office, you will see a lot of people that they start to say something, but they don't really are able to communicate to each other. So there is a lot of miscommunication during these 3 weeks. So when
Mhm.
Mercury is retrograde, there is a lot of technology glitches. So computers start to have several glitches, or the video conference then all of the sudden doesn't work, or you are cut off during a phone call. So a lot of weird, you would call it weird things are happening, but it's the influence of the planet Mercury that is going backward.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
it's really important because in this period, I always advise leaders that they should never take major life decision or major job decision, because you can understand something, but when the transit is finishing, it will be like a misunderstanding in reality.
Yeah.
So you
Mhm.
pay attention. Or I can give you a practical example. There was a client last year that she had to sign a specific job contract. And we were in a period during the Mercury retrograde, and I said to her, read like at least 10 times the contract, because for sure there is something like minor clauses that are really small that you don't pay attention. And because of my guidance, she, thanks God, she read really carefully the contract, because there are some clauses that she didn't agree. So she could really discuss further with terms of condition of the contract. And then after the phase of Mercury retrograde was finishing, she could agree better on negotiating the contract and then finally sign it. So I always recommend not to sign any contract during this period, because you might oversee something. You might miss some important aspect about your salary, about your job description, or so on. So that is really important.
There's that
And
beautiful,
then
Cynthia. This is a beautiful example also of how astrology is much more than talking about or signs and think about what we can see on the daily or the weekly horoscope. This is a lot different, and I also see that is something that people become more and more aware of. Also, living, implementing, or including the moon cycles in our life. Also for women, including our cycle in our life, when we have our energy, when we don't have our energy, because especially as ambitious women, as career women, executives, we want to be there all the time. We want to be alert and active 24/7. And it is just not that, because there's other elements playing besides our strong will. And so being aware of that and being accepting that and integrating it in our life makes it a lot easier. And I see that Catherine is asking, because you were talking about Mercury in retrograde, what is going on right now that we can keep in mind in order to make decisions or not make decisions or do funny things or whatever?
yes, Mercury retrograde will start now. Actually, today we starting is technical terms. I don't like to speak in terms of time, but it's starting the pre-shadow of Mercury retrograde. So actually, yesterday was the last day. I always say in a funny way. Yesterday was the last day to purchase any new devices, any new technology, to sign any contract, because now we are starting the next 2 weeks to go in pre-shadow phase. And during all the month of August, we will have Mercury retrograde. So we need to pay attention about how we are talking and all this all with this.
It's a long time.
So during also, it's like 3 weeks. During Mercury retrograde, also advisable not to buy any kind of electronics, new mobile, new computer, because otherwise usually you will spend more time to the customer service, because there will be something to fix. It's basically that. But if you pay attention to all these things, your life will be much easier. You will flow with the planetary influence. And this is what I'm doing, and that's my mission, to guide people and teach the basics. Stay in bed, yes. No, actually not stay in bed, but you can relax. Usually in August, here in Italy, at least, everyone is on vacation, so it's good because nobody's working. But I don't know, in Belgium and the Netherlands, still a lot of people are working. Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
And just
He's also
I think
asking if we will put the links. We will put the links of all Cynthia's, how to reach her in the comment box of the live stream platform. So you will find everything there. So yes, you can connect with her and find out more. Beautiful.
Yeah, and maybe I can end with a case study so that you can understand better. There was a client that she had a lot of water element. She had a lot of water element, especially she had a lot of Cancer and Libra element in her birth chart. And she was a manager for the last 8 years, but she was really struggling because the manager, the supervisor, was sending her all the time to attend kind of leadership courses, but it was like a style of leadership courses that it was more dominating, assertive leadership style, and it was not really her. So also this is an invite for everyone that is listening to pay attention also to the kind of leadership course that you want to follow. Because in my opinion, you need first to understand your birth chart and your main element, and then do the specific leadership course according to your birth chart. To give you an example about this lady, so she had a lot of Cancer and Libra energy, so it was mainly water energy, meaning she was supposed to be a really supportive leader, a really a compassionate leader, a really empathetic leader. She was pushing herself too much to be assertive because in their corporate environment, they were pushing her, you need to be assertive, you need to be like that, you need to lead people in this way. And of course, she was really stressed and she was at the beginning of her career. So, what I want to say also here is that sometimes the main issue that we face is that we try to do and to act in the way that we are not. So she was trying to be
Mhm.
another kind of leader that not. So we sit together and I was explaining really in details with the several session. We worked together for 3 months and to understand really our main element, the different aspect of our natal chart and so on. And then she finally understood that she was not really need to be in the forefront position leader, but she was needed to be more in the back, in the background
Mhm.
as leader and ensuring their teams in another way. This is why it happened after a few more months that we worked together. She was really lucky also because she was working for 8 years in this company. She asked to be the kind of leader to change like a job description, to be the kind of leader that was more supportive and not assertive. So she changed role and she became more like a coach. She was coaching their teammates. Like that, she completely aligned to her
Mhm.
element, and she was really able to be really more fulfilling in her life. So like
Yeah,
that, it's really important
beautiful.
to not sometimes in our 30s. I did also these mistakes in my past 15 years ago. But sometimes a lot of leaders they want to rush and they want to be another kind of leaders that they are not and they get so much of they are getting so much into stress for nothing. So the main point
Mhm.
here really to try to connect with your board chart, with your main element, and act from an authentic point of view, and like that,
Mhm.
it will feel like everything flowing. So that's the
Yeah,
main
it's
point.
building on your strengths, isn't it? It's building on your essence, and then things are in flow. Where if you are putting things or doing things or working on things that are not your essence, that are not your zone of
Yeah.
genius, it's extremely hard and stressful. It's good not only to be aware of these four types, but also to be more aware of what we can do with astrology and how it can guide us, how it can bring us energy and flow in our lives and in our
Yeah.
decisions making and choices. Thank you so much for that. And everybody who is listening in or watching or listening to the replays, you are very welcome to send us your comments, send us your questions, and especially just connect with Cinzia and visit her website, watch her YouTube channel, see what she does, and connect with her if you want your personalized birth chart. That's absolutely something that I'm also considering because you made me very curious.
Actually, what I explained today was just like 1% because into leadership, we can really go into details. There are so many aspects that we need to consider. And for
Yeah.
our talk, since that I don't know the audience how much are into astrology, I had to be really simple, easy, and synthetic. Because sometimes
Yeah.
people are into resistance because they want to comply with the societal rules. They want to comply, please work colleagues, and they don't show their authentic self. So actually, essence, it's all about authenticity, to say it in another word. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah. Beautiful. Let's end it for today. I thank you so much for triggering us a little bit on how
Mm.
astrology can support our leadership style. And we will connect with you. Everybody knows how to find you. You're very findable, if I can say it like that. Thank you so much
Yes.
for sharing it with us, sharing your knowledge, sharing your expertise, and giving us this new angle to look at our styles. And yeah, for the people listening in or watching us, thanks for being with us. Thanks also for your contribution. And as we said, if you have any questions or want to know more, just connect with us and we'll help you from there. So take care. Have a great week ahead. And we hope to see you next week. Take care. Bye.
Bye.